name is Yara. I'm from Khalil, Hebron, Palestine.
My name is Nofar Drukman. I'm Israeli. I'm living in Tel Aviv.
My name is Noor. I'm from Nablus, Palestine.
I currently live in Beersheba in the Negev region.
I'm from Tel Aviv.
I'm originally from Tel Angeles, the Iranian community in Los Angeles.
I'm a Palestinian refugee living in Bethlehem. And as someone living in the West Bank, I have to endure the human rights violations caused by the Israeli occupation on a daily basis.
I feel as a Palestinian I'm invisible in American politics and frankly in the world.
My name is Danielle. I'm from a small village called Kfar Farburg in the southern district of Israel, fairly close to the border with the Gaza Strip. I've experienced the rocket fire shot by Hamas into Israel, and I have served in the military that was supposed to keep me safe, supposed to promise my security. But what I've learned is that no measure of force and oppression against the Palestinians, against my Palestinian friends, will ever bring peace and security to anyone in this region.
We don't really understand who are the people behind the wall. And when someone doesn't understand the person on the other side, fear is chosen over empathy.
Back then, all the news channels I could see just like terror attacks, specifically Palestinian, like the enemy from the other sides that I would never know.
We need the American people to know that we face human rights violations every day. My people, the Palestinians, civilians in the city, are under constant harassment by settlers, settler violence, home demolitions, displacements, and our children are being incarcerated by the Israeli military. I personally and my family have gone through these experiences where the army knocked down our door at 2 a.m. and tried to drag my 14-year-old brother out of the door.
I currently live in an area called the Negev or the Nakab. 2/3 of the population are Jewish and 1/3 are Arab Bedouin, many of whom identify as Palestinian. I'm protected by Iron Dome's mechanism of intercepting rockets. 100,000 citizens of unrecognized villages do not have access to the same protection.
I realized that the Western media unfortunately only talks about Palestine when the violence erupts or intensifies with Israel, but not the humiliations we endure on a daily basis.
As a teenager, I was radicalized by militant jingoism and theocratic fundamentalism. And, looking back upon especially the process of transformation that I went through to become the person that I am today, opening up, broadening my horizons, I would definitely see the need for education, for dialogue, for collaboration, for empathy, to combat the fear and the intolerance and the ignorance that fuels this conflict.
For us, the most important thing is to live peacefully, which means that everyone has equal rights in our region. Right now, it's far from the truth.
I could be arrested tomorrow if I voiced an opinion that's unfavorable of the Israeli government.
In my military service, I learned Arabic and Middle Eastern studies, and by knowing the language, I also learned a lot about the Palestinians, about their daily life, their struggles, the politicians, and I think it helped me to understand better the conflict, and especially to understand and to knowledge that there are people, millions of people living beside of us.
The stories that we've been telling each other, they serve to humanize and personalize the things that we're all going through as figures who are experiencing the hardships of conflict. And I think that is the most important thing, when we are able to relate to each other as human beings and not just as mere statistics.
The New Story Leadership Program is about bringing our voices to the Capitol Hill.
I joined New Story Leadership because we need to start a new story wherein Jewish and Israeli people's security does not come at the price of Palestinian human rights.
So the ignorance is the main problem. Because of the ignorance we have fear, and because of the fear we have no hope. And my generation needs to understand that we're here to generate something new. We're here to talk about the conflict.
My plea is that we look at the nuances of the problem and we don't just look at the conflict and say, what's the solution, one state or two state? Because it's bigger and greater than that.
As long as these human rights violations go unpunished and unacknowledged, then it's really hard to talk about a solution regardless of the form of the solution.
We need you to voice your support of our human rights.
Palestine will never be free as long as Israel is not safe, and Israel will never be safe as long as Palestine is not free.